Hey, well, welcome back to the channel. Today's a big day. I'm going to move some stuff around in here and make room for the A4T. So I got to get the truck out. I was going to move the 950 propane and the 302 propane over there next door to neighbor John's, but I did some thinking this morning. I think I'm going to move the 955 and the 950. They're my two bigger ones. That will free up enough space. I did some measuring last night just to make sure everything would fit in here the way that I have. But so in order to make this happen, I got to move those two tractors out. But to move those two tractors out, I got to move the torches. I got to move the 114. Got to move the quad. I got to move the mower. I got to move the truck. I got to clean up all this stuff. And if anybody else is like me, this is what happens when you get busy on projects and things just start accumulating. So I'm going to work on cleaning everything out of here and getting the A4T in, and that in itself will be a project, but you'll get to see all these things run, and you'll get to see the A4T get shoehorned in here so I can work on it some this winter. First failure of the day, I was going to move the 110 over there, but it won't start. I got spark, so I'm not sure why, but we're going to leave that one alone. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the 950 out, and then I can start hopefully rearranging, moving. It's kind of like a game of shuffle around to make things fit. Up. I just had to kick those wires to make a connection so it would start. Sit out here and idle so it gets warmed up. And I put battery tenders on this last night on the A4T. And I just plugged in the water circulating heater, so hopefully it starts a little bit better. I'm gonna go in and move some stuff around, and then we'll work on getting the 955 out of there. Got the quad moved out, the zero turn. I'm leaving them both run for a little bit because they've been sitting. 950 still running. This place is a mess, and of course everything is dripping wet because we were so cold, and then we warmed up, and now we've chilled down a little bit. Everything's been sweating, so everything's wet, dripping wet. All right, let's see if the 955 wants to start. I'm going to do a little preheating. I did have it plugged in just for a minute, but it's probably not long enough. So this does have the preheater and the air intake, which always helps this thing go. It is 48 today, so that isn't bad. But I'm happy with how quick that thing started. Hopefully the A4T reciprocates. And the oil pressure's okay. Everything looks good. I'm going to pull this thing out of here before it fills the barn with exhaust. Upside is that being a little bit warmer, although everything's sweating like crazy, it's not so hard on these things to start them. The worst is the ground thawed out, so I just can't cut across the grass. I gotta go down the road. Still sitting there idling, nice as can be. And we'll let the 955 do the same thing. Do some sweeping and some cleanup before and then I'm going to run those things next door, and then I think I can probably shut down the zero turn at this point. And probably the quad. And then I can get back to cleaning up the area where the A4T is hopefully going to fit in without too much trouble. It'll fit. It's just how I'm going to arrange everything to fit other things back in here. One thing I've decided as I was in there sweeping up and cleaning up is these things both sound really good. Just sitting here, both running next to each other. It's like music. A very nice music. All right, I'm gonna take the 955 over first, I guess. I have my drip pans, so hopefully I don't make too big a mess on John's floor. All right, just walked back over through the marshland. I did want to point out I did get the truck washed last night. Got the salt off it. Not like it's the best cleaning job I've ever done, but I just wanted to get the salt off it because it was nasty, 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 and I hate salt all over it. So I'm going to take the 950 over. She's been running for quite a while now. And run it up. Look, make sure nothing looks too out of place, because she has been running. It's probably the longest she's run since I've had her. Temp gauge is working. Look at this. Got me some warning lights for the road. This is about as upscale as it gets. If I really wanted to impress the neighbors, I'd turn on the headlights. On the A4T, I want to work with Joe to fix the low in this. It'd be nice to have the low working. Holy crap. I don't know if you can see all those headlights. It's like rush hour. Never have this much traffic. I'm also going to be very interested to see how this thing handles out on the road with the new tie rods in it. Jeez. I'm gonna have to put a traffic light up here. One more coming. Anyway, get the low working in the 3-speed. That'll be pretty nice. Fifth gear. High, boy, it's hard. Yeah, it wandered before, and guess what? It still does. Still kind of wandering. There's a kind of a catch in it. I don't know. Something else I'm gonna have to look into. Just a little catch in the steering wheel. And then all of a sudden the steering gets super hard. I'm gonna guess I got a problem with the power steering pump. The motor runs great. Shut down the lights. No hazard in the driveway here. Yeah, there's a catch right there, and I don't know what that would be. I've never messed with one of these power steering pumps. The steering much on one of these, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why it's acting that way. Oh, she definitely likes RPMs for the steering. Alright, I need both hands here. All right, runs like a top, steers terrible. So I'm gonna guess it's in the pump. That just doesn't make any sense why it's acting the way it's acting, but I'll have to do that, mess with that later. I'm gonna have to put my pans and my diapers underneath here so that John's floor doesn't look any worse than I already make it look from the other ones that are over here. I think everything drips a little bit. The old Jetstar 69 Jet 3, she's got diapers under her. The 7302 I don't think leaks a lot, but Grandpa's old 53 UB does have its preferred leaking areas. The rear axle seals. Probably should have done that when I was restoring it, but that was my first tractor I did, and I didn't know any better. So anyway, there we go. Everything's tucked in. Like I said, it's diaper time underneath these things, and I'm going to go back over and we'll work on the A4T, getting it inside. All right, back home. I got to clean up all my old cardboard, which is what I use underneath the tractors over here, but all that stuff's pretty well saturated, so I need to get it in trash bags. I got to clean up this whole mess. And then my buddy Jim is coming over, and we are going to, he's going to guide me in here to get this thing in here the best that we can get it in. So stand by. All right, I'm going to try to get this started and warmed up before my buddy Jim gets here. But what I like to do before I start it is crank it a few times, get some oil pressure going. Ooh, she wants to start. There goes the oil pressure gauge. All right, good news. All right, so I'm going to set you guys up here, and I'm going to have to give her, I think, a little shot. Not like fireball shot, but a little shot. She wants to go. It's a lot easier with two people. Close. Let's listen to this thing. Sorry for the camera angle there. I'm definitely gonna have to work on how that muffler's mounting on there, because that's shooting a lot of exhaust straight down. Sounds better though than the muffler that had the hole in the side of it, and the manifold had the big hole in it. I just thought about this. The reason that I'm getting some exhaust down here is where the exhaust manifold fits together up in there. That's got a carbon up. I didn't think about that. It's not coming down from the top. It's got a carbon where that joint is. So that'll just take some time. All right, we're gonna start moving this thing in.
I think it's important that you're able to walk all the way around.
No problem.
Oh, yeah, not only that, is that you want to get the crane so it'll step right here.
Yeah. You can shut her down, Fred. We're in.
All right, got it in here. Jim guided me in. It wasn't as tight as I thought it was going to be. Fred, he's got an exchange student there, keeping from Brazil. So Fred was my cameraman. I appreciate it, Fred, for running the camera while I drove it in. So I kind of wanted to leave enough space so that I can move around this side of it and I can get the gantry in here because I'm going to have to pull the fuel tank out of it. And I think up front, there's enough room that I can, yeah, so I can go 360 around it. So it'll be in here for a bit. I can still get the truck in. I'm gonna have to wedge everything else back in here, but she's in. And now I just need to bring everything else back in, and then, yeah, I got plenty of room up top. I think this was a little 10.5 feet and the door's 12. So she's in, and we'll be working on this thing. Will be a lot of videos, probably going through this one. This is my one I'm going to learn on. So then we drop the engine in the other one, then we'll know. And I can, looks like I can practice my wiring a little bit more on this one too. Not that I love wiring, but this definitely needs, yeah. Don't know what all that mess is, but I'll fix all that up. And this does, somebody added lights to the rear, although the one's broke, but I can probably, they put a bracket across here, and I can get those, because I think lights on the back definitely would be good if you were doing any work with this. And yeah, I'm gonna be going, you're gonna go on the ride with me to redo this. In that back window that I've got off of the white 4150, I think Oliver Phil's gonna come over, and we're gonna try to fabricate up hinges and see if we can get it to work on this thing. And if we can, then I'll get another one for the other tractor that doesn't have a rear window in it. But this is plexiglass. This doesn't seal up. That's just a cover. It's not anything to seal. So I'd like to get that cab in a little bit better shape, and I'm gonna have to replace, obviously, the plexiglass and the doors. The windshield's all busted. So little things, one step at a time. Let's get her mechanically sound, and then we'll move on through this. Thought of something pretty funny this morning. Brings a whole new meaning to doing something, getting put in the corner with your nose against the wall. But the big dog's not in trouble. I just need to work on it. I think what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to pull off the hoods, and that way I can see, maybe we'll get it started at some point and see where some of my leaks are coming from over here. If it's all just from the injection pump, or if it's other places. And but so I'm going to pull off the hood, just take off some of the bolts, take off the hoods. Also will expose, because I'm going to have to work on wiring, I need to take some of that off back there. And that's about all I'm going to get done today. I got to go to a family birthday party. But you know what bringing it in on concrete does? Shows you where your leaks are at. So the other thing I need to do this morning, up front looks pretty good, but I definitely got a leak here, which I'm not surprised, from the steering cylinders. And I'm not surprised there, because that's coming from my hydraulics, which is kind of the reason I'm gonna have to pull the fuel tank and get in there. And then some of that's just water, because this thing's been sitting outside. And it's been wet here, real wet. So I am gonna get something on the floor to soak stuff up. And that's about it for today. And tomorrow we'll be over at Eric's working on the 1026. And in the afternoon, I'm gonna get back here, and maybe I will start seeing what is going to be required in order to pull the fuel tank off this, so that I can look underneath and see what needs done. Obviously I need these valves, or hydraulic couplings. I'm gonna have to do those. So little by little, I'm gonna pick away at this thing while we got it in here. All right, all the hoods there. The hoods are off, and including the piece that kind of is behind the motor going into the cab. So you can see there's steering lines that are coming out there. And then, so let me look at this real quick so I can accurately describe what I'm looking at. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these lines are feeding from the pump up front. I know that, obviously. Gonna need to replace some lines. These lines on both sides are going down to your steering cylinders. That so these go in, these two big ones go in, these four come out. Oil pressure, throttle cable, and tack cable all come out of there. There's your oil pressure, and this has what appears to me to be both a mechanical and an electrical. I'm going to guess the electrical goes to the light on the dash. The mechanical goes to the gauge that they added, because everybody knows that without an external oil pump on these 585s, they were prone to have the oil pump go out. And there's the beautiful manifold I put on. It's looking up into the light, so you probably can't see much. But this side is where my wiring comes out. Looks like most of the harness is still there. It looks like it's been worked on some. So, and then you can see my new brake line in there. So I'll work on all that. I'm gonna have Oliver fill, make up new battery cables, since these are a mess of, that's like serious big gauge, and then this is not. But I'm gonna do it so we can run these in series and then clean all this up in. And this one, the Real Job work phone. There's no tray under this battery, so it's been balancing there. So I need to get the correct tray, put it there. They put this tray here as a third, for a third battery, but it doesn't need to be on there, so I'll probably take that one off. All right, I got to go in the house and get ready, because we're out of here for today. So that's about as much as I'm going to get done today, but I did at least get, it's a beautiful motor. I think anybody would agree that likes motors. A big inline 6. And yeah, as we work on it here, we're going to make it look even better. A lot of hoses and lines on this thing are not in good shape. All right, right back where we were last week. Back over at Eric's. Got the fuel tank up on the gantry, and starter out. Phil's got the starter here. We went through it. It definitely needed gone through, so we're good. He's going to have the video of him redoing this starter on his channel that we are going to get him up and running on today. So that's Oliver Phil. He's going to rebuild that. One of the things he's also going to do today is he's going to measure, he's going to make the battery cables for this, for the 2 batteries that are on either side. So we're getting started here. We're going to get the starter put back in. We're going to test it before we drop the tank down, just to make sure. And then we're going to hopefully get this thing running here in a little bit. All right, Phil and I wedged it back in there. Thank you, IH Engineers, for this wonderful design. Phil's got a jumper pack on it, and we just want to try it without
Well, that jump pack didn't work. Went right to dead.
Yeah, he just tried it with a jump pack. That's not it. We need to get jumper cables. We'll try it with the battery. But anyway, just wanted to do it before we drop the fuel tank down, make sure it'll turn over, everything's good, because we don't want to go through this whole rigmarole again. All right, Phil brought in some jumper cables from the truck, got it hooked up on the battery, and
Just gotta touch it.
just gotta ground it, and it should go. Should go a little bit more than that, shouldn't it? All right, well, we ran into a little issue. We couldn't, starters act the same way. And what I think one of you guys mentioned this, that with jumper cables and all that's not going to work. So Phil just went to make the battery cables so we can put both batteries in sequence, because your cold cranking amps are only 500 per battery, and it needs more, closer to 1,000 cold cranking amps to turn this over. So we're just not getting enough amps to crank it over. So in the meantime, we got all the paperwork for the wire harness. Eric and I just went through everything and rechecked how all the wires hooked up. We got to do a couple grounds and figure a couple small wires. This harness here, but that goes back to the cab. When the cab goes on, we just figured that out. And yeah, so when Phil gets back with the battery cables, he says crimper's at home, we should be good to go. what we did was we came over here, and where that wire harness is, this is where it would plug in the cab. So I think we're pretty much got everything set where we need to be. We're just waiting for Phil to get back with the cables. We'll get it to crank over. Once we get it to crank over good, we'll drop the fuel tank back down, hook everything back up, and then hopefully get this thing rolling. All right, after a little bit of a pause, Eric and I went through the rest of the wiring harness. I think we got that all sorted. Phil made it back. Negatives are going there. New positive cables going around to the starter. Eric and I put the platform on because we needed to get the clutch pedal spring hooked up. After we get started, I'll show you the other side. There's the cables that Phil made. He put a little, since they're black, puts a heat shrink so red on there so you know that's positive. But again, the negative cable goes around, positive cable, we're hooked up. So there's the platform. So we're getting close to seeing what this thing will do. All right, we're finally set up. Phil's got his starter switch because we were not getting, still don't have power to the starter button. You ready? Gonna crank this thing over. Hopefully now that we've got the batteries in sequence, everything's good. So,
Get in here.
Oliver Phil hopping in.
Double check. Just got our remote starter here, and let's see.
Oh wow, she spins fast now.
All right, let's get this fuel tank in.
Get the fuel tank on and then we'll get her started. She runs.
Power steering line, blue.
Worked out.
Yep, we got a power steering line that let go.
Did you see it?
All right, we're gonna start it again and see if you can identify where the leak is. We're standing back because we don't want to get sprayed. Phil looks a little. froze up. This thing sat for a long time. Froze up.
I gotta figure out how to get this in gear. And then I'm gonna go through that starter again. Sounds weird, but I'll do that while it's out.
All right, the linkage was froze up, so we just lubed the crap out of it. It goes over to there for the high and the low, and got everything freed up now. So we're gonna try it again and see if it'll move. Where he got this is it was in pieces, so he doesn't know what it will and won't do. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Eric's one happy man. He was not sure if that hydro was any good. Like I said, he found this, it was already in parts. But we got to go through the steel power steering lines, and he's going to have to replace a bunch of those, which means the fuel tank's got to come back off, and none of us are real happy about that. And yeah. Sounds good.
Hell yeah.
That's it's a good day. We spent a lot of time working on this thing. The wiring still needs sorted out some. We're all convinced that from now on Brillmans will be used for wiring harnesses, and yeah, pretty happy. Probably going to shut this video down after this, so we'll be working on the A4T coming up in the upcoming videos. And now that it's in the barn, got obviously a lot to do on it, but this is a win for today. Eric wanted to get it running and moving, and now we can figure out the rest. So, and she's leaking out of that power steering line all over. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Give me comments if you like the comments, positive, negative. Just let me know what you think. And what a day. We're pretty happy. So, till the next video.